the Awaken Your Ego podcast with Joanne and Ariana. We are a health podcast that explores topics to do with biohacking and self-discovery.
We are also on the self-discovery journey, and we want to attract listeners that are doing the same in order to help them realize they're not alone.
Ego differs from conventional medical spas and wellness centers. We believe that the secret to maximizing one's sense of self is in addressing the entire person, inside and out. We provide state-of-the-art aesthetic treatments as well as lifestyle management and holistic health solutions. We aim to please with our efficient and friendly customer service and guarantee with our scientifically proven alternative therapies and lifestyle optimizations that every patient will leave our care with a boosted ego. Our goal is to help our patients realize the necessity of self-care and to encourage them to prioritize their health and wellness goals. When we make self-care and confidence a priority, then we're able to bring to light our potential for happiness and growth. This podcast is a way to expand our reach so that we are able to spread the word on the importance of self, the whole self, inside and out.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. Please reach out to your medical provider if you have questions about any of the treatments we discuss to see if it's a right fit for you. Now on to our show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Ego. For today's podcast, we have Alyssa Amaral. She is the creator of Project Wonder. Alyssa has made it her business to develop an organization with a mission to empower and equip our next generation to shine as confident leaders in the communities. A former college athlete and mother of two young girls, Alyssa is the founder of Project Wonder. With a degree in child and adolescent psychology and many years experience in physical fitness and sports, Alyssa teaches and motivates through movement and mindset coaching. So welcome, Alyssa. We're so happy to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So just kind of to start, where did your passion for child psychology come from?
You know, my passion for child psychology didn't set in until I became a mother myself. Coincidentally, I lost my best friend. He suddenly passed while I was pregnant with my oldest child. Wow. And he honestly was the most selfless 20-something-year-old you would ever meet. He was actually a high school varsity football coach at 26. Wow. He passed away suddenly. And that really inspired me. And so once Rory, my oldest, was born, and just through healing and turning to prayer, to be honest with you, I felt it in my heart, and I explored working with Sierra Vista, a foster care agency, not really knowing what was for me there, but feeling really drawn because of my own past, my own history with just brokenness in youth. And I felt called to that. And once I started working with Sierra Vista in their group homes, I changed my degree, my major, to child and adolescent psychology.
What was it originally, if you don't mind me asking?
No problem. When I was in college and playing sports and before motherhood, I was all over the map. And I think that is just an expression of my personality. And I was 18 and had so many different interests. So I was a biology major when I first went into college, and the first time they rolled out a cadaver, I realized that was not for me, and that was not my life. And my mom was a nurse. I helped her, study and things like that as a teenager, and I felt like, honestly, I knew the terminology, and it would be something that I would enjoy doing to help others. Then it went to interior design. And from there, I had to leave college, actually, because I was struggling secretly with an eating disorder. And so my basketball career ended, and so did my faint attempt at finding my degree. I wasn't really focused on education at all, honestly, for my first go at college, my college education.
Wow.
Oh, that's a story.
That was long.
No, I mean, that's cool.
I kind of just stopped talking. I was like, wow, I really was all over the map there.
No, but I love that because I feel like when people, especially young people, I mean, you interact with a lot more young people than I, but even when you're young and in high school, you think you have to have it all figured out and you want to go to college and have your major established. And it's like, sometimes life takes you on a path. I know for me, it's like, I at that age was the first time I realized I'm not in control. Like life's going to take me a certain way. Maybe I'm not going to get into grad school I want, and it's like, I feel like you being able to pivot and adjust while following your true self and your passion, like that's amazing. Like that's really cool.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. But that's a funny path to get to where you were. But I mean, but ultimately, like here you are living your passion, and that's like fantastic.
Exactly. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So from there, what inspired you to create Project Wonder?
A lot of my past, my childhood. I worked at the group home. I ended up running a group home myself. And what that did for me was it taught me how to manage adults as well as children. And not so much managing the children as managing situations that I found myself in with them. And oftentimes it was, crisis situations, a lot of uncomfortable conversations that I never expected to have, and figuring out how to navigate and things like active listening, how effective that is in communicating and allowing someone to feel heard. I carried that passion with me as I transitioned into the fitness world. Transitioning into the fitness world was not something I expected. I lost 150 plus pounds about 5 years ago. Once I became a mom, I turned back to food, just like I did in my childhood, for coping and whatnot. And this second time around, finding health and finding how to care for myself in that way, right? Like what you consume, not just my food, but positivity and whatnot. It was earth shattering. Like it was so life changing for me. I had postpartum stuff going on, postpartum depression. And it was so much more than that, because I spent so many years saying, I'm okay, or saying, treatment worked, when really I just had all of these underlying, pains and things that I wasn't talking about and things I wasn't dealing with. And so, there was a really special transformation when I showed up in a place that I felt I was in a safe community, and I was able to be vulnerable and work out really hard and look ugly and sound ugly and, all of the things. And looking and sounding ugly or whatever. It turned out to be this really beautiful transformation that happened over time. And there was something else that I couldn't let go of, and it was how I felt connected to these people that I was sharing the workout with. We're all in this together. And I actually just kind of ran into the woman who owns Orange Theory Fitness. I had no idea who she was. And we started talking because hi, my name's Alyssa. I talk to everybody. And we just struck up a conversation, and she asked me to come and work for her. And that, I own the building behind you, or, I own the business that's opening behind you. And I told her, I was busy, and she talked me into working her front desk 1 day a week. And that turned into being head coach. And it really was like from being front desk to being head coach, because of my passion for fitness, my passion for people, and that translated into something really beautiful. And so I went from running these group homes and working with these kids and really listening to their needs and meeting them where they're at, to working with adults in a fitness capacity. And you guys, it's crazy how similar the experience is.
Oh, for sure.
Getting adults into an orange lit room with treadmills and weights, that's terrifying. The amount of active listening and encouragement and life that you speak into adults, and then I found a microphone. Your voice on a microphone is such a powerful thing. The way it transmits into people, right? Into your ears, into your heart, and the way it's absorbed. It's a really, there's so much possibility there. And I really just, the first time I got on the microphone, I remember saying, this is fire. And I didn't know how else to describe it. This is fire. The way that you can speak into people through using your voice. And it's so much more than that, right? But really giving yourself. And so Project Wonder came from this recipe, right? That was, my own life experience, running group homes, and then working at Orange Theory as a head coach. and realizing that we need help for our youth. I wish I could change what happened to me in my childhood. I wish I could go back and tell my parents what was going on and do all of that and feel confident enough to speak out. All I can do is heal and move on and do my best for my 2 daughters. And the way I decided to do that was figure out how I can create a safe place on my own terms. My own life experience, I wasn't treated great in these different work environments. And I was raised by really great parents, and I believed that I could create a space that was safe for children, where children could thrive and learn. And adults could too. And we could have this really beautiful, great culture. And I took it on myself to just start slowly developing what we have today, honestly. Mm-hmm. It's really, really exciting. So it was a mixture of everything. I think the biggest shift this year has been when I say that, my own childhood experience has a lot to do with it. It's not the trauma that I took into Project Wonder, right? That's not what it was. My parents created this really safe, beautiful place for us. A mist is out there, among all of this, my dad struggled with alcoholism. Mm-hmm. But he's this beautiful human who's such a protective dad. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
And my mom struggled with that. But they still created this space for us. And the abuse and things that I experienced was, it had to do with family outside of my home. And if I would have told my parents what was going on, it would have been a totally different story. So, the eating disorder was secrets. It was things that I decided I needed to take in. And I made the decision for the adults around me that they couldn't handle it, but I could. Mm-hmm. I will, And so rather than saying, it's the pain that inspired, it's not the pain that inspired Project Wonder. It's the safe place. It's the protection that my parents made me feel. Everything that was happening was outside of them. And I did everything I could to protect them as a child. And children do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so you as a parent, you as a mom, right? You could do everything you can to protect your children, but it's in their instinct. You're teaching them to want to protect you back, right? Yeah. So when we pull them out of the home environment and they suddenly are just calling me coach, I'm not mom, I'm coach, right? It's a totally different thing. It's a totally different relationship. And there's this trust that's built. There's a trust that's built within the kids.
Well, and I like that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's almost like we were just talking about earlier and how in different aspects and avenues of your life, you have to accept yourself, but you have to constantly accept yourself. Even if I'm confident, at work and our work Ariana, everything's great. But then at home, I also have to figure out a way and fine tune things so I can be confident with home Ariana and wife Ariana. And it's almost like, I like how you expressed you're creating a safe space. And while you're doing that, you're also allowing kids to show up as an individual. It's hey, I'm coming to you just as myself, not because my mom's making me, not because of any of that. It's I get to choose to grow or not, right? But either way, it's safe and I'm comfortable. And I just feel like that's fantastic that you're creating that opportunity for someone to realize hey, this is me. And I have power too. Does that make sense?
Totally.
I love.
Totally.
And even you speaking on the eating disorder, it's almost like you were trying to find a resemblance of control, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like I can relate to that too, because I do that in different ways. But what you're creating for adults and children alike, and fitness or Project Wonder, it's almost like it's like you said, it's very surprisingly freaking similar. It's cool. Yeah.
I love that you see that.
Yeah.
And there's a fitness aspect of Project Wonder where we work out hard, and it's really neat that the mindset I've taken on lately in the fitness area is let me develop these just great little athletes. They don't have to become athletes, but let's train like athletes. Why accept anything less than great? you know? And, we give these kids options and they're catching up. I have one little boy who had a heart transplant when he was 8 and he's 13 now.
Wow.
You know, obviously Ephraim is not in there doing all of the things that the other kids are doing, but he's going hard, you know? And it's just so cool. And then we have this incredible empowerment curriculum who Lisa Hollis has been a teacher for years, and she created it for me. It's like these adults have stepped up and they're like, I believe in this, let me help. I don't know anything about teaching. And we have this beautiful empowerment curriculum where we're teaching kids about, empathy and why is community important and what does a healthy friendship look like? What does a healthy relationship look like when you're 10, right? What does dating look like when you're 10? I love those conversations. They don't make me uncomfortable, right? Unless my daughter's sitting in the room, then I'm like, okay, wait a second. But it's just so much fun. And it's not that I'm telling anyone what to think. It's just creating that space. And the coolest new step to this whole process has been hiring young adults on as coaches and then teaching them to create a space for these kids. It's been really, really neat to talk to 16 to 20-year-olds about how to create a space for other people to be themselves when they're fighting their own stuff, right? But sometimes helping others is the best way to learn.
Well, and I feel like for you, there has to be dramatic growth in there, right? Because it's like you get to see all these triggers all the time of like, whether you as a child or even you as an adult, and it's like, dang, it forces you to look at it and adjust, right? It's almost like you're on that fast track to finding all the crap you were not okay with, like that's really interesting. Because even motherhood, I just view it so much as like, it's a privilege to watch my kids grow and develop and watch their brains work. But at the same time, while I'm watching them, they're also watching me grow and develop and change and evolve. And I think sometimes we forget that, like our children are also there witnessing it and taking a big part in it. And they're with us along the learning curve. So the more transparent we can be, the better, you know?
Yes. I, if I can leave my girls with anything as a mom, right? It's that they've watched me transparently go 110% after not just what I believe in and like what I'm doing with Project Wonder or anywhere in life, even my spirituality. They've watched me struggle like in the church and being like, I don't want to think that way or, whatever. Yeah. They've seen me transparently like live and find my truth, to be honest with you, because there's been so much growth. It's almost funny. And one of these days I'll really laugh at how much developing Project Wonder has pushed me, right? I'll drive home and I'll be like, okay, Alyssa, like you are an empowerment leader. You got this. And even though, and I feel like I need to take a chapter out of our curriculum myself, half of the time. And that's just what it is. That's a gift in itself. But if I can leave my girls with anything, it's that they've watched me learn and they've watched me fight for what I believe in. And they have seen moments that I wish they hadn't. They've seen me use words that I wish they hadn't. But they've also seen me apologize. They've also seen me develop like we all do, right? And so I know my parents, I remember hearing like arguments, muffled arguments behind the door, right? Or whatnot. Well, I've been single for a long time, so that helps. But there hasn't been. I haven't had any arguments in front of them, so that helps. But they've heard conversations, and they've heard hard conversations, and they've seen me at times where I could have done better. But they've also seen me at times where I've walked away from that and kind of like wanted to pat myself on the back, right? Like I'm really glad they watched that. And so, if nothing else, they've seen like my real experience, my true experience. The last thing I want for them is when they're older and they're still questioning or having a hard time with their body image, or they're having a hard time with their boss, but they think that they don't have any space to speak on it or whatever. Like I want them to be able to think back and have memories of how I handled it or what mom would have done.
Well, and there's so much empowerment in witnessing the process, right?
Yes,
it's like them watching you go through that. It's like, oh, my mom had struggles, but she did a pivot and then she was good. It's like, I feel like you said, when you grow up and your parents don't allow you to see the ugly and the arguments, it's like you assume this false sense of what a relationship is and looks like. It's like, oh wait, if I'm arguing, that means something's off because I didn't grow up around that. It almost like you think you're protecting your kids, but the better thing would be let them see you're ugly, but then let them see you apologize and get to that conclusion so that they feel empowered to do that on their own. Because I love that meme. I've talked to Joanne about this before. It's like, you're not a rock. Like, if you're not moving, it's because you're choosing not to move. Like, if you don't like your situation, change it. But that's easier said than done.
It's vulnerability. And I think as a parent, that's really hard for us to allow our children to see that ugly side. Because, I mean, we want to be perfect. Maybe not perfect, but we want to be good. We want to be a good role model. And, you know, when it's time for them to see that, you know, it could be... you know, scary to think, oh, great, like, what am I showing my kid? Is this going to rub off in the wrong way? But I think that what you're doing is amazing. I wish my parents would have allowed me more of that vulnerability, you know, because then it would have just helped me have more of an awareness. You know,
well, and the biggest thing for me watching as I evolve, I'm, 30 something, and I'm looking back at my parents and my childhood and what I liked, what I didn't like, and, trying to formulate my new world of like what I'm going to run my life like. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of empathy and growth when I'm able to look at my parents, see the things I didn't like. And I had a great childhood. I'm not sure I truly believe I was protected in a lot of ways. But it's like now I'm able to look at my mom with empathy and be like, she just didn't have the tools. But in my head, little Ariana is like, I'm not important. Oh, I'm pushed aside. I felt abandoned. But in reality, it's like, no, my mom was really struggling. Like, she couldn't fulfill me in certain emotional needs that I had. And as a child, it hurts, and you take it defensively and get offended. But now I can view it and say, gosh, no, it wasn't malicious. It was out of a lack of knowing, not out of like, I'm trying to make Ariana feel awful. But I feel like if we're not willing to go back and look and make those connections, we're going to perpetuate the things we hate, And I just feel like there's so much empowerment in being able to look and figure out the why, because I'm realizing I haven't reevaluated things since I was in them, right? Since I was 10 or 8 or feeling those lonely feelings. And so it's like now as an adult, I can go back and take a peek and piece them all together, and it all makes sense from my scope now. And I'm not having to rely on old Ariana's brain. Baby Ariana. Yeah.
I love the administration, like that you walk in, like you're so administrative. You're like, and I'm taking these pieces and I'm like filing them out. I love that. Because I'm a creative and I'm like, I love that. Go with that. Run with that. I need more of that in my life. I also love that what you're saying is that you're going back and you're checking the stories that you created at 4, at 5, at 6. My dad used to fall asleep in his truck and, just drinking, and my mom would take us to go look for him, right? And I remember my dad is like John Wayne. Like, I'm saying, we raised cattle. I got bucked off of horses, and he would walk up laughing, and he'd be like, let's do it again, right? Like, that's my dad, And he was never, at the bar. He was never, cheating on my mom, nothing. He was like asleep in his car. And I remember thinking like I would be so sad for my dad. But at 4, I wrote this story that my dad didn't want to come home to us. Like, why didn't he want to come home? As an adult, it's like, my dad is sick. It was sad. It was so sad. I remember being sad, But you have to go back and revisit that and really rewrite that story. Like, no, my dad is sick. It's not that, no man would want to come home to me, right? Because then it grows, right? And then, you go into a marriage, and then that carries in. It carried in for me, for my marriage. And
you accept those traumas.
Right.
Because it feels familiar.
I get it. And you don't want to come home, right? I get it. And not that I ever said that, but like, that's your internal story. And so I love that you get that. And it's that revisiting. And I get to do that with 12-year-olds. So they remember their story really vividly, right? Or they'll be like, my mom, and, they're frustrated. And I'm going to be honest, at the end of my degree, like toward the end, I was heartbroken that I knew I would never be a therapist because I can't really get in there and help anybody, right? I can help lead you to a conclusion and we can talk for years about it. But what I really wanted was to just like help like map it out, right? And I'm like, oh, I didn't know what a life coach was. So it's really exciting for me with these little kids to be like, let's go back. Tell me more about your mom. Your mom hates going in your room because it's always a mess. that's just a messy room. So what's really upsetting you, right? It could be a million billion things, but it's so fun to like explore that with the kids and map it out and rewrite that story. That's
when
cool.
you get to be that mental check of like, hold on, no, you're doing it wrong. And I feel like as kids, when you don't have like adult leaders like that, you, like you said, you become your own check and balance, and some of it doesn't quite add up, but you still trudge along. But like you're actually in the moment saying like, hold on, no, it's not you, it's something else, and that's really cool.
Thank you.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, Alyssa. I'm back on topic.
Got it.
Is how do you deal with imposter syndrome? Because I feel like there has to be times where you feel like I'm not good enough, or I'm not the one. It's like, how have you,
especially when you dealt with inspire other people?
Such a good question. Oh gosh. I'm literally being like, how deep am I going to go right now? Okay, I'm going to go deep. I'm going to dive. I'm going to go. So I have really, so I've struggled with body image like forever, big time. I'm 6'1". I know you can't see that on the podcast, but I'm 6'1" and curvy, and I love my curves. And I can say that honestly, because I really don't know the levels that it works. But I have a hard time standing in front of the mirror naked. I just have a really hard time with that. And that is where imposter syndrome kicks in, because it's the last thing I want for any of my children or any of my friends, right? And I can look at myself, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I can look and almost like think about myself as though I were like a friend, right? Objectively, exactly the word I was looking for. Thank you. I can look at myself objectively and see where the work I've put in and just be really proud. And then I know the truth, right? And like, that's the truth, right? And the more I learn and the more I read, it's like, you know, your thoughts are not you. They're your past. They're your past patterns and the things that you were taught before. Well, I was constantly sexually abused growing up. And I used eating to try to keep people away from me, because my abuser would make fun of me to keep controlling me. So to call me like fat or, you know, things like that and make me embarrassed in front of others was the way that he controlled me. And so I tried to be as nice as possible, right? So he wouldn't make fun of me and whatever. So imposter syndrome, you know, alone in front of the mirror naked, that's one thing. But then to think that I'm deserving to walk up and, you know, receive recognition or receive an award or even just, you know, just little things, it carries over. And so the past 3 years, I have really embraced feeling imposter syndrome in like so many areas, right? Like all, you know, yell at your kids and then you're sitting there like, really good, Alyssa. Great. Now we're going to get out of the car. We're at Project Wonder and my kid's face is red from crying. Just don't worry about it, right? You know, and it is easy for me to laugh like that stuff off, right? And I know no one's perfect and my kids have huge personalities like I do. So that's, you know, that's me trying to parent the best I can. But really, imposter syndrome sets in when it comes to my own body, my own image. And that is something that I'm going to work through honestly. And the journey has been incredible. When I lost a whole bunch of weight, I went into like, kind of now what, right? You have a lot of extra skin left over. How, you know, where do you go from there? And I started realizing after probably a year or two of just eating super clean and loving to exercise. I love to move my body, right? That it's going to take a lot more than just exercise to feel good about my body. And so I've been on this incredible journey, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I struggled with binge eating up until very recently, and starting CrossFit was something that I didn't know I needed. I felt somewhere in my heart, in my mind, like my career as an athlete was just so unfinished. I had just lost weight in high school. I lost 100 pounds in high school. And then I recruited myself in college. Like I made the phone calls, I made the emails, went off to school. And like 3 months before I graduated high school, my friend showed me how to throw up. I wanted to know how she ate all those damn Cheetos and still was thin. Like what I'm over here eating chicken breast, you know, and pretzels. And it became something that was kind of cool. Like, you know, oh, if I wanted to go eat some pizza, and I'd throw it up and I'd feel better. And then it became like, that food haunted me. Anything I put in my body haunted me, and it grew. And so I never really had a go at college athletics because the eating disorder literally started growing as I left home. And I talked to Shannon, my coach, but I went to my CrossFit coach and I told her, I kept seeing them. I was doing a boot camp at True Fitness at the time, and I kept seeing them do like handstands, and that terrified me. Literally, I'd be so afraid for them. And it was just something ridiculous to even think of me like upside down on my hands. And I started thinking like, I'm only 30. I was 34 at the time. I'm like, this is bullshit. I can do a handstand. I just need to do it. And so I asked her to help me, and I did it. And so I started CrossFit, and I decided I wanted to revisit the idea of being an athlete. And what that did was it made me feel strong. It made me want to fuel my body. It showed me different things that I can do other than just trying to be thin. And I'm not proud of that, but it was this control, right? And it was this underlying current. And so I don't know when the journey ends with that, but I know that where I'm at right now is that I don't obsess about my food, and I really truly have never felt healthier in my life. I've never felt healthier in my life, and I don't know where that ends, you know?
I feel like I can personally relate to that, and I feel really inspired by hearing you talk about that, because I know eating disorders are real. My eating disorder was in the form of starving myself because, oh, you're too thick, thunder thighs, whatever, by my sister and my family, siblings. But same thing, I found this way of like, oh, okay, well, to make myself thinner, I just don't eat. And then you go days without eating, and then you're used to it. There's like a knot in your stomach, but you're just like, it's fine. But same thing, going to the physical, working out and all of that, really learning like, you know what, yes, I might not be happy with my body, but I can be strong. And when you find strength in yourself, it's like a switch to where it's like, you know what, okay, maybe I have thick thighs, or maybe I'm whatever, but I can lift. And each time I get stronger and stronger. And it's like this confidence or this different type of like empowerment where it turns into an appreciation for your body. And then having kids, and then, okay, things change. Okay, well, now I'm fluffy and, jiggly in some areas. Back to postpartum. Okay, here I was strong. Now I'm kind of fluffy and all that, But again, it's just, I don't know. I just feel like I really relate to that in a sense of physical fitness for me, and a sense of when I knew I had mental issues, having that physical challenge really helped me with the two. And that's why I really like that you're doing that with kids. It's like there's
one, like what you're both saying, it's like the intent is switched. It's like, oh, I'm not going to just withhold myself from eating because I want to be skinny. It's like, hold on, I want to be healthy. I want to be strong. And that intention can last, right? But when you have a short-term intention, it can't. It's going to fall. And like for me, whenever I'm feeling a resemblance of imposter syndrome, like, oh, someone's better out there fit to do your job. It's kind of like, I like what you said. I have to lay out all the facts. Yeah. What are the actual facts? Like, and where, and I need to focus on that. And if someone told me in my childhood and I feel triggered, like, oh, they said I couldn't do it or I'm not good enough, being able to let that doubt sink in a little bit so that it can push me to action and say, hold on, no, do I actually believe my sister, my brother, whoever said these negative things? Or am I going to empower myself and make my weakness a strength? And I feel like that's where I don't mind triggers, and I welcome them now that I see them for what they are, because it motivates me to act and to change it so it's no longer a trigger and doesn't hold the sting. I don't want to let pain dictate my next move, or let, my uncomfortable feelings dictate where I head. It's like, I want to feel that power and come from a good intent and move forward with strength, So I think imposter syndrome is a huge deal, and a lot of things, a thing that most don't even consider, like, oh no, I'm me. And it's like, but we all have times where we doubt.
You're wonderful. You have a lot of fire. I love your confidence. And that's what it is confidence. And that's been the biggest shift this year for me. And I think the shift started with realizing I'm not the pain, right? Like in the church, they wanted me to share like my testimony, right? When I started Project Wonder and like overcoming fear. And so I was like, yeah, this is where like, this is my broken, these are my broken pieces. And it's like, I don't know where I started being really tired of living in that and telling that story. It's so ugly. And it's wonderful to empower people and share like, oh my God, she was raped. Oh my God, oh my goodness, that happened to her. And it happened to me. So look at her, she's pulled out. I get that. I get that mentality. But for where I'm at today, that's not helping anyone. Remembering what made me strong enough to rise up, what made me strong enough to email those coaches when I was 17 and I didn't know anything, right? Like, what was that? That was the safety. That was the life experience my parents gave me, shooting guns, going to basketball games, riding horses super fast and wild, right? Like in a protected and okay place to do those things. Like that is what made me who I am, not the abuse and the rape and the ugly. Yeah. And
but
so
we all have
that was
to
the
reach a
shift.
point where we have to say, hey, this is me. The good, bad, and ugly, it's all freaking me. And it's like, for me, I had to get to a point where I got sick of hiding my ugly or things that I didn't want people to know. And now I can truly say, like, I live with my genuine self all the time. And it's like, and if someone doesn't like it, okay, we're not a fit then, bye. It's
great,
like, it's like, I can't let someone else's opinion of me or my history or my trauma or my ugly affect where I'm headed. Because it all makes me, right? And I feel like truly the only failures are in life are when we don't allow ourselves to learn from an instance and we allow that to just fester and get, because for me, I make mistakes all the time. I tell my employees all the time, I'm like, if we're not making mistakes, we're not pushing the envelope.
Love it.
And I was like, for me, I'm the first one to say, my bad, let's fix it.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm confident that I can pivot. And I know we all have to get to that point where we can say, hold on, I'm not trapped in this mental space, physical space, whatever it is. I can always pivot. And I like that you're showing kids and adults the same, like we have power to change and we're not stuck.
Well, I like it. I mean, it's like shifting the mindset. We talked about this week of from victim to survivor. And I think it's a huge mental shift of like, this happened to me, it was awful. But then it's like, this happened to me, it was awful, but now I'm like, also, look at all these other beautiful things that have happened. It's not longer my story. It's part of my story, it's a chapter, but it's not the whole book.
You guys, that could be a whole event. That a lot of what I teach, the mentality coaching that I do for these kids, that I do for my coaches, is that the power of your words. I am like so into what you just said.
Yeah. And the self-talk. It's like the self-talk I feel like is huge. And we just talked about this with Lisette on a different podcast, like the power of mindset.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're feeding yourself the negativity constantly, oh, you're too fat, you suck, you're dumb, you're not, you can't make it, you're not the one. It's like, you're going to believe that. And as silly as it sounds, like I love this app. It's called I Am. And it's like, it sends you little positive affirmations randomly throughout the day.
I love it.
And you can set it to send a little or like a lot. But it's to me, I was like, oh, that's silly. What are these words on my phone going to do for me? But let's try it. And so I did. And it's so crazy the effect that like you are lovable, you are strong, you are beautiful, you can do hard things. It's like seeing that, reading it, it just makes it more tangible and it becomes like a truth. Like, okay, I can believe this. My phone's telling me this and it's right in front of my face. I feel something linked. Maybe I am lovable. So I feel like what we feed our mental selves, even in our subconscious and through podcasts, video, social media, it's like we need to try to monitor that because it does have like a direct effect on how we feel.
We do affirmations at Project Wonder every day before we work out.
Oh, fantastic.
And I tell the kids, and we take a deep breath and we put our hands over our heart, we close our eyes, and it's super dramatic. I honestly make it but the reason for that is because I want them to create that space. Like this isn't just us chit-chatting and then really fast we're like, I can control my thoughts and feelings. Like, no, or not feelings, but anyway, it's not just really fast. Like I want to make it a big deal. And I tell them to think about a snowplow. And when we say positive things over ourselves, we're creating new roadmaps in our brain to thinking loving thoughts, to thinking positive thoughts. And so it's like a snowplow, like where our brain is just all like thoughts and ideas and memories. We're plowing space for us to think these really great, beautiful things about ourselves. And it makes it easier and easier to believe them.
Well, and there's so much power in the pause, right? And being able to say, hey, because they could do that at home when they're feeling overwhelmed. It's like, and that's something I was just talking to Joanne about, and she's having trouble pausing right now. But it's almost like we get so busy with like working and having an effect and developing ourselves. It's like we almost forget to say, hey, life is really good. Wait, why am I working like crazy? Oh, it's to create a beautiful life, not vice versa. Like
Love
I'm
that.
living so I could just go work. It's like creating a balance and a space where you can say, I like where I'm at. I like my life. And I feel like sometimes we get so caught up with our checklists that it's hard to just say, I am happy right now. You know,
Really good.
things are going all right.
Stop and smell the roses.
Yeah, that's a great tool. I love that.
What advice would you give your younger self, if you could?
Oh my goodness. What advice would I give my younger self? I would tell myself to talk about the things that matter more. I was angry as a kid, and it's because I didn't talk about the things that mattered. I let other people control situations, and I just sat back. And then when I had had enough, I would lash out. So to talk more about the things that mattered to me. I think that kids sit back and think that no one wants to hear what they have to say. And in turn, people just think that kids are shy, or, you know, they're not friendly, or their parents didn't raise them right because they're not talking, right? They don't talk to adults. When in reality, kids are just assuming that adults don't want to hear what they have to say. And oftentimes that leads to buildup for us, right? Mm-hmm. If you walk around, if you're hanging out with your kids all day and you just feel like, I just need a minute, right? I need a minute. And it's because, like, you know, maybe work is heavy on your mind or something going on in a friendship, but you don't talk to your kids about it because they're not going to get it. They're really not going to get it, right?
Yeah.
And then you feel sometimes like you're just going to spill over. You know, that happens to kids. So if I could say one thing to myself, it would be to talk more about the things that matter.
I love that. And that reminds me, I was just talking to some of the girls at work. I'm just started listening to this book, Untamed, by Glennon Doyle. And it's actually, my sister kept suggesting it, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. And I'm finally starting it, and I really like it. But one of the things she said, it was around 10 is when she started feeling that pressure to present how her parents wanted her to, or those around her wanted to. And she really enjoyed the attaboys that she would get from presenting that way. And she's like, her concept was like, we're programmed very early on of like, what's good behavior, what's bad behavior, what gets positive results, what doesn't. And so I think it is really important to remember we don't have to present the mask, like unprogram. Like we were programmed and we presented, but now we're old enough and we have the power, we can unprogram and reprogram how we want. And there's a lot of power there. But I think as a young kid, we do that. We start to just suffice. We start to, you know, do what those around us want. Yeah. Put the leaders around us at ease just by being quiet, and ultimately like standing up is really what we got to do.
Well, I think we weren't raised with those tools and parents to teach us. You know, I didn't hear of anything like Project Wonder when I was a kid.
No, you heard respect your elders, right?
Yeah.
Don't say a thing.
Yeah. So I think that's great that there's something like this out there and that you're striving to help it grow.
Thank you. I think that the most exciting thing for me is how often I hear, and it's honestly this, and I'll probably, I don't know, like title a book or something, but it's like, I wish I had Project Wonder when I was a kid. Hell, I wish I had Project Wonder right now.
Yeah.
The amount of times I hear parents saying that, and it's like, no, I would love to create an adult version of Project Wonder. Are you kidding me? How awesome would it be to share a little bit, work out, and then give props to each other, eat a snack, and go home? Like, that's pretty cool. Right?
I want to have a water fight too, though. I wanted to have the water fight too.
Yeah, water balloon fight.
I know. I'm like, sorry, I had a water fight this morning. Looking a little rough. Yeah, I'm not mad about my job for sure. Yes. So my parents were immigrants. My mom was an immigrant, you know, so I'm first generation on my mom's side, but our parents didn't have the tools. They had tools more than their parents did.
Yeah.
We, because of technology, right? Everyone wants to say, you know, demonize technology and everything, which, you know, I'm so neutral on that right now. Everything is at our fingertips. So we do have the tools. We're trying to figure out how to use them. Like you said, right, with the imposter syndrome, I could say that I'm not comfortable in my body and I'm a trainer, right? And I love fitness. And so I could just easily feel imposter syndrome for just the way I look physically alone, right? I feel imposter syndrome because of what's going on inside of me, because of social media, because I'm able to be inspired by other plus size trainers and, you know, and whatnot, different body shapes and sizes. So while I struggle with that, I still have that, right? Our parents didn't have that in the 80s. All they saw was Cindy Crawford or whatever hottie was on the TV, right? Or, you know, and I think Emmy, right, was like a plus size model. I don't know if you guys remember that. I just remember being a chubby little kid, like, yes, yes, go you. But we had very limited resources. And now it's like, we do have the tools. And so what I'm really trying to do at Project Wonder is I'm great. I love people so damn much, you guys, even the people that hurt me. Like, I just love people so damn much because I've been ugly. I'm intelligent. I'm great with words. I have a big personality. I'm 6'1". I've been really ugly to people. I know it's hard to believe, you guys, but you know, and I'm still lovable, you know? And so I have this idea that I've developed with Project Wonder, but it's the most important thing is developing a culture. So it's the kids, it's the coaches, and it's the parents too. And it's taking this now into other towns, really, and growing the idea. You know, I have these other leaders starting to reach out to me. A young man from Merced wants to start kind of the same thing, just empowering the kids in Merced. And it's like, yes, how soon can we meet? We have the resources now. We can do better. Our parents did better, right? Whatever we were left with, they did better. And now we're doing better. Gosh, yeah. I don't know. That was a tangent that we just got off
I love that you wear both crowns of I'm a work in progress, but I'm also a badass. Like, it's like I'm making it, but I'm also still working on it. And I think for me, sometimes it's hard to own both. It's like, but we have to allow ourselves to own the progress and the potential all in one. Because I think for me, my imposter syndrome creeps up when I'm like, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not at my goal. But I've had to really kind of welcome that thought process of like, I can be successful, but I can also be a work in progress to have more success, you know?
Love it.
But that mental shift of I can still acknowledge myself, even though I feel like I haven't made it under my terms. Does that make sense? I mean,
do you know why I hold both those so seriously, so proudly? And I kind of caught myself. I was like, man, I'm kind of sounding like a mess over here, but it's all good. But truly, I carry both so proudly because you guys, I didn't think that so much progress was possible in life. I began my journey 5 years ago. I think it's almost 6 now. I feel like I've been riding the 5 mark for a while. I began knowing that something had to change, just like at a complete breaking point, and just so dark, like just so much darkness in my heart. And that's not me, right? So I started this journey just needing a change. But what I found was just like it's just not like nothing is the same. Me not liking my body, that's been there, right? Having a hard time loving and appreciating just the way I was made, that's there, but it's night and day. It's so different. It feels different because I'm able to talk to myself about it and like have a dialogue about it, right? And kind of put that to rest. Know it's there, but understand how unhealthy it is and that comes from pain, and then able to like approach it in love, right? And so, yeah, it's like owning both crowns. And I always tell, like, especially even my new coaches, they've been working with me for like a month. And I'm like, you have any feedback for me? And these are like teenagers, like, is this a trick question? This is a trick question. Is this a trick?
Like, am I loud?
And I tell them, as a coach, I have to be coachable. I have to be coachable because I want to be successful. And success for me means just helping Project Wonder just grow and soar. And I'm not going to go anywhere if I walk in and I'm like, nope, that affirmation's perfect. Nope, that works. This workout is perfect. I love getting everyone together and having all of that input. And the first thing that people have to understand is that I understand I'm imperfect. So come at me. What do you got for me, right? Sure. And I think that creates a good space.
So what does your self-care look like?
Well, my self-care looks like prioritizing sleep and nutrition. First and foremost, I moved to Hilmar when I began Project Wonder. I bought the most basic model, little SUV. I knew I was like in for it. I didn't know what I was in for, but I knew I was in for it when I started this business venture. And so my self-care, I feel like it keeps getting minimalized. Like I put nails on and I feel like such a lady. But for our fundraiser event we just had, my self-care is pretty minimal right now. I prioritize my sleep and my nutrition and my water intake. My mom taught me that if you're clean and you smile and you have a good heart, you're always going to look beautiful. And so that takes me as far as I can. I'm trying to think. I get my hair like done and things like that. But I went to beauty school. I did hair in my 20s right before I started working at the group home. And so my self-care is pretty minimal. I just like take care of myself as far as like health and wellness. And that's really it. I work out.
No, those are important. I mean, sleep, water,
they're all good things.
Without them, we can't really function. So.
To be completely honest, and like you can cut this out if you want, I plan on coming to you guys and doing like that whole full consultation.
Oh, let's go.
Because I would love to I think like feeling like physically more empowered and just like, taking care of myself would be like next on my like, I guess on this journey, because I know I can't, having hired coaches, to be honest with you, having like hired coaches, and I'm turning 36 tomorrow. And so it's like, I've been in a really fun moment where like I live in stretchy pants and t-shirts and like buns. But I'm coming to a place where I need to really step into like being the founder and the owner of Project Wonder, and then like running the business and developing that side of it and getting out into the community and doing things like this. And so I think like sitting down with you and meeting with you guys and getting like, is it an image consultation? Is that what you call it? It's just like fun words. I just love words.
Yeah. I'm sure Ariana's face is lighting up right now.
Well, I love aesthetics and I love aesthetic consultations, and I would love to help you whenever you're ready.
Yeah, because I and so my self-care is the most basic possible right now.
Well, we can definitely spice that up for you.
Yeah. So I am
for you, but hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like exercising on a regular basis.
That's true.
Like that's all important.
It's for you, but it's actually not.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. That makes me feel better. Yeah, because I can't even like remember the last time I bought something that like wasn't stretchy pants. But anyway, self-care is very minimal right now to me. But the cool thing is I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. And so I'm pretty proud to look back at the past 3 years and just be like, I've really gone all in, and it's really neat. And even opening myself up to the idea of like dating and things like that has been really exciting. So yeah, it's just, it's only up. It's only up. It's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Alyssa. And if you guys want to, hear more from Alyssa, we're going to have her at our next Awaken Your Ego event, July 16th, and that's going to be in Modesto. So that'd be a great opportunity to ask questions and come learn more. And we're excited to have her as one of our speakers.
And I believe I'm speaking on resilience, which I'm really excited about that topic. And the space you created for us at the last wellness event I came to was absolutely beautiful. And I look forward to sharing in that space again. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you.
Thanks.
All right.
Where we can find her on social media.
Where can we find you, Alyssa, on social media? How do we get in touch with Project Wonder?
The best way to get in touch with us would be on our Instagram account or on our website. Our Instagram account, honestly, we go on all the time. We're always posting stories and things from our program. And that is Project Wonder Modesto. So it's all one word, Project Wonder Modesto.
Fantastic.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Awaken Your Ego, a podcast that explores biohacking and self-discovery. We hope you follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay up to date on what we're working on in your area.